Hello, and welcome to Law Talk. My name is John Celebrezze, and I'm the co-founder of the Celebrezze-Zangi Community Legal Education Project, as we call it, CZ-CLEP for short. Our organization provides continuing education about the judiciary and legislature to attorneys, judges, government officials, and the general public. As a career educator, I recognize early on how important legal matters are and how they impact our lives. I am the nephew of the late Anthony J. Celebrezze, who was the popular 5-term mayor of Cleveland and a member of President Kennedy's cabinets. As a tribute to his lifetime commitment to the legal process, we dedicate this show. Our guest today is Maryann Chandler, an attorney with the Medina law firm of Brown & Amodio. She and her colleagues practice in the areas of estate law, real estate law, including land use, planning, zoning. She also practices in the area of family law, consumer law, and civil litigation. Maryann is the current treasurer of the Medina County Bar Association. She's also a member of the Ohio Bar Association and an active participant in Community Legal Aid's Volunteer Legal Services, which is an organization that represents low-income and indigent people. Welcome, Maryann.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for being with us today. A lot of Medina County elected officials on, as well as attorneys, and Judge Kimbler has been with us, and I think it was through him that I learned that you at one time worked as an assistant prosecutor?
Yes, I did. The nice part about going to law school locally is I was able to take part in an internship where at one time not only was I a law clerk at Judge Kimbler's office, I also spent time at County Prosecutor Dean Holman's office working as a law clerk, and which led to an eventual offer of employment.
Oh, so you actually worked for the prosecutor in an intern capacity, and then you were actually hired on as a prosecutor.
That's correct. I earned credit hours for law school while working for Mr. Holman, and then, like I said, a couple people noticed my work, and that led to an offer of employment.
Well, for someone who is a comparatively new member to our profession, you've had some pretty unique experiences already, haven't you?
I've been lucky to have those opportunities.
Well, we always enjoy having Judge Kimbler on the show. He's we call our sage on the stage. He knows the law, and
yes, he does.
We certainly. I'm sure any experiences you got with the judge were probably very good.
They definitely were, and I know many of the attorneys in the Medina Bar especially are grateful for his knowledge on the bench.
That we are, we all are. When you worked for the prosecutor, and we're going to actually delve into consumer laws, which is what I asked you to come on to talk about today, but what did you work on the civil side or the criminal side?
I was in the civil division of the prosecutor's office, and a lot of people don't realize that there is a civil division, and essentially the best way to describe it is as in-house counsel for all of the townships and agencies in the county.
Okay.
So having that position, I was able to learn a lot about how our county works.
Sure.
Either through attending commissioners' meetings or going to township meetings, or dealing with foreclosures.
Sure.
That was one area that I worked on. I handled all the foreclosures in the county. At that time, 2004, 2005 wasn't as busy as I assume it is now, unfortunately.
It's pretty heavy right now. We've had several shows on it, actually. And so, in essence, the civil division of our prosecutor's office, you, in the stretch you did, you actually become the attorney for the various political entities.
In that, when dealing with foreclosures, as an assistant prosecutor, I represented the county treasurer.
Sure.
They're the person making the claim for any unpaid taxes on homes or in other matters. We also represented the county auditor with regard to Board of Revisions, which is the process that people go through when they want to challenge the amount of real estate tax they're being assessed.
You've got diversified experience there, Maryann. That's great. Well, we're going to shift gears. I asked you to to come on and talk to us about consumer laws, and I did this for a number of reasons. Obviously, through the local bar, I heard about you, but you had previously written what we considered to be a very, very nice article on the topic, and we published it in CZ Court Reporter, which is a electronic publication sponsored by CZ Clip. So you've written, and you've lectured as well in the past on Ohio consumer laws. Why do you believe these laws are important, Maryann?
For a number of reasons. The first reason is these laws are very broadly written to cover a lot of transactions. Basically, if you're a consumer buying something from someone, these laws probably cover that transaction. And what I mean by that is if you're purchasing a magazine from someone who happened to knock on your door to sell you a magazine subscription, that transaction's covered. All the way up to if you're building a house on property that you own, that transaction's covered by Ohio Consumer Sales Practices Act. So that's why it's a very important law to know whether you're a consumer or a supplier, the person who's selling making the offer to sell.
So the distinction, Maryann, comes in not so much about the worth of the product you're purchasing, but somebody is supplying and somebody is consuming. Am I getting that right?
This is a pure consumer protection law, plain and simple, and a very strong one at that.
Really?
And I don't think you realize just surely by reading it, you see that there's a lot of protections offered, but when you actually see it in practice, that's when you realize that it's something that anyone who is dealing with consumers should be aware of.
I see. So our viewers maybe have an opportunity as we work through the list here today, as I normally put together. You'll talk a little bit about both sides here, from the guy who buys the product as well as the guy who's selling it.
Right.
Okay.
The article that you mentioned earlier, I focused mostly on what was called the Home Solicitation Sales Act.
Yeah, that's what I got. I put it on my, actually I made you a question from that, from your article, and I'll just read it to you now because I know that's where you want to go. You mentioned then Consumer Sales Practices Act and the Home Solicitation Sales Act. Is there a difference, Maryann, between the two?
The Ohio Consumer Sales Practices Act is the large, all-encompassing law that's codified in the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
Within that act is a separate piece of legislation, a separate chapter that's entitled the Home Solicitation Sales Act.
All right.
It's primarily meant to cover those folks who go walking door to door offering to sell you goods or services. And that one is particularly troubling for people who are defined as suppliers under the revised code, which the definition is in this code. And what happens is if you don't have very specific language in your contract when you enter into that transaction with your consumer, they have the right to cancel the contract. It's an unfettered right.
Okay.
If you don't tell them about their 3-day right to cancel, that consumer can cancel their contract at any time.
I see. Pretty good thing for us all to know.
It's good for consumers. The reason why I wrote about it in my article that was published a while back was a lot of people who find themselves out of work lately have thought, well, I have some general skills, I'll be a handyman, go to people's homes and fix up their bathroom or remodel their kitchen. The dangerous part is courts have interpreted the Home Solicitation Sales Act and that right to cancel